Doom Nation, welcome back to another Doomed review. I am back with Shane,
Hello.
and we are going to bring you Black Widow, the movie, which was long awaited.
Oh yeah.
It was supposed to come out,
May of 2020.
right, and now here we are in
July
July of
2021.
2021. COVID screwed everything up. So we'll do this a little bit differently first. I wanted to start this review with a was it worth it to purchase on Disney Plus? Because this is the thing now with Disney Plus. They put their movies out, I guess you could say, on Disney Plus and in the movie theater. So it was $30, right?
Yeah, it was 29.99. I think it's just until, more people are comfortable going out that they're going to keep offering you premiere access on Disney Plus. But that may actually just continue being an option going forward.
Yeah, I think so.
It was kind of nice.
Yeah. So before we get into anything spoiler wise, I wanted to do like a breakdown of was it worth it, so you could decide if you're going to pay for this now or wait for it to be free, or if you're going to go to the movies where it might be slightly cheaper. But my opinion right off the bat was 100%.
Oh, I think it was
This
worth it.
movie was worth it. It was fun. The story was good. There was action. Scarlett Johansson did a great job as Black Widow in this one. And it was only $29, right? So if you watch it together with a group of people like we did, it only turns out to a
$5
few
each.
dollars a person if you want
Not
to
even.
if you want to split it. If you went to the movie theater to watch it, it's going to probably cost you like $20
It's going
a
to be
person.
$15 for the ticket plus whatever snacks you want.
Yeah,
And you get to watch it as many times as you want
right.
because now
You
you
own it
own
now.
it.
Yeah, so it definitely was worth it. If you're on the edge of paying for it or not, I say go for it. If you're a big Marvel fan like we are, you'll
Couldn't
enjoy
wait.
it. So with that, let's get into the spoilers. So if you don't want to get into the spoilers yet, this is where you stop the review and you come back later after you watch the movie. So, spoiler warning. That was pretty awesome,
Oh my
wasn't
god,
it?
it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was one of those movies where I wasn't sure if it was like gonna be worth the watch because it was just kind of late to the game in terms of when it should have came out.
Yes.
It was supposed to come out, well, timeline wise, it's supposed to come out after Civil War.
Right.
But then, fast forward a little bit, end credit takes place after Endgame.
Yeah.
So I feel, Black Widow deserved a movie so much long ago. That was not English.
So much long
So
ago.
much long ago. It should have came out a long time ago. Yes, granted, it was supposed to come out a year ago, but it was supposed to come out even before then. It takes place in 2016.
Right. And right
It
in the
literally
timeline.
takes place right
Yeah.
after
Civil
Civil
War.
War, and she's running away from the government.
Yeah. So me too. I thought I was expecting nothing from this, right? I was honestly expecting to be disappointed
filler.
because of the delays, the fact that it's out of the timeline. But boy, this movie delivered.
It was good.
Yeah, it takes place obviously after Civil War. If you're confused to the timeline, Natasha's on the run, and she reunites like with her old family. I did think the opening sequence of the movie was phenomenal. Like it almost made me cry. How like sad it was her being a child
I-
and being ripped out of her family.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing, kind of where she got her start because it didn't go like that far because apparently her start started at infantry,
Right.
but this one started when she was like 12 and she's basically been in this her entire life. Like she's always been meant to be Black Widow.
Right.
My mind blanked.
It's okay. So the beginning was awesome. Like I said, it really pulled on like the heartstrings and really set the stage for like this kind of family story as well as
It's like a family
redemption, revenge sort of story.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions going on throughout this entire movie because you got her being like, I gotta run away because government's looking for me. All of a sudden, she's being brought back to her past, which she basically got rid of 21 years ago. So
Right.
she hasn't seen anybody from her childhood for the last 21 years because family, whatever. Now know her as Black Widow, but there was a whole past before she joined the Avengers.
Right. And throughout all the other movies that she's been in, you didn't really get much from her past. Like they
The
alluded to it here and
only
there.
time we really saw it was Avengers Age of Ultron,
Right.
when, Wanda did her little magic thingy, got into her head, and you see her training, and you learn, that she's sterile, can't have kids,
Right.
and that's all you know.
Yeah, they actually Yelena reiterated that in this movie, saying how
Yeah.
they basically what they did to all these women in the
Full
Black Widow program.
hysterectomy.
Yeah, pretty horrifying. So one of the things I enjoyed most about this was the Red Guardian, and David Harbour's role was the comedy relief.
Yeah.
This movie was a little bit more on the serious side, I'd say,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Most
some of the other
Marvel
Marvel
movies.
movies. And one criticism I'll say of it was I felt sometimes Yelena's comedy felt a little forced and didn't like it didn't.
I didn't find
Sometimes.
it forced. I think I found it more of like she's trying to find humor within her situation, because she was also younger than Natasha. For those who don't know, Yelena is Natasha's sister, but you obviously have seen the movie at this point. But she didn't get to know Natasha because, they went through all that training, and then Natasha ran away and never came back.
Right.
So I feel like she's just kind of, it's sadness coming out of the humor. Like, it's all like little jabs here and there with
Yeah, it was
everything
kind of like
she's
dry
saying.
humor a little
Yeah.
bit.
So it's like, it's funny, but she's also like being serious with what she's saying, even if it's coming off in a funny way.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit out of place sometimes to me because she had kind of just been like woken up by that chemical
Yeah, so
out of
she's
her
just kind of
brainwash and stuff. So it's like I feel like if you just went through all that, you probably wouldn't be
really
funny.
know how to be funny.
Right, you'd be pretty scarred. I mean, some of the stuff was funny, but some of it I felt like was a little bit distraction, almost like it didn't make sense.
But the actress herself, she isn't a comedian actress to begin with. She's mostly
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah. So David Harbour, he killed it though. His
Oh my God,
role
he
was
was great.
hysterical as the Red Guardian.
And I had no knowledge of the Red Guardian prior to this, so I
Yeah.
had no idea. But once I saw him, running and hanging onto a plane for however long he had to hang onto a plane for, I was like, oh, he's powerful.
Right.
That I didn't expect. I thought he was just like a nerdy looking old man from Russia.
One of the things I felt was really funny with his role was how obsessed he seemed to be with Captain America because
Yeah.
he was kind of the opposite of Captain America. He was like the Soviet Union's
Yeah.
Russian Captain America.
But as he's in jail, he's just making all these jokes of how he beat up Captain
Right.
America.
And so I was trying to think, I was like, did they ever confront each other or
No.
even know each other? I don't think so.
He was frozen in
But
ice.
Right. One
And then
of
he
the
was
prisoners
imprisoned.
right, pointed out that, right,
He's
Steve
like, he
was in
wasn't
the
out of the
ice.
ice yet.
But I don't know though. Maybe there is more to that story because when he's with Natasha later on, he asks like, "Has Steve ever like mentioned me or talked about me?" Maybe in terms
Might
of like
know
reputation,
about
right?
him,
In terms of
yeah.
reputation, but maybe there is something that happened along the way.
So, because I am who I am, I always have to read things even while I'm watching
Okay.
this.
You were googling stuff while we were watching this.
I was on IMDb. So one of the what is the word? Like trivias on IMDb was saying it might not be Captain America, but it could have been one of the other super soldiers, like Falcon Winter Soldier. One
Could have
of
been
those
Isaiah,
super
maybe
sim-
Isaiah Bradley.
Could have been any of those that were being experimented on, and he just
Maybe, but he wouldn't have been asking Natasha though, who's like friends with
Maybe.
Steve. But I could see that. I could see him having
like he might have fought one of them, but it just
Right.
wasn't Captain himself.
Maybe.
But he's going to tell people that it was
It was. I see. Okay,
to
yeah,
make
that's a
himself feel
possibility.
better
That's a
as
possibility.
he's destroying them all in arm wrestling.
Yeah. So I thought he was great. The mom I felt was a little bit lackluster, although their whole scheme and plan was very well done and thought out. I also really liked their like they get to the house where the mom is and they like sit down and kind of like reunite the family and go through like all the emotions of it's been so many years and all these people have like all these different life experiences. I thought that scene was very good in general.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect with them finding her, because they thought she was dead all this time, because she got shot in the very beginning of the movie and then they never saw her again.
Right.
They were taken away as children, and that was the end of the family. When they finally got back to the house, I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Because Red Guardian was telling them, Alexei was telling them, oh, she still works for them.
Right.
And that immediately made them be like,
It's a sus, mad sus.
And then it ended up being because she's like, I wish I had this conversation with you before I told them
Right.
that you were here.
You see, I thought the storyline, like the writing, was great there because it started off with them as the family. They break up, family gets back together, but you're as the viewer unaware of like where do allegiances lie,
Yeah,
how does
especially
this
because you
dynamic
get to the
work?
point where like Yelena walks in and Natasha's passed out on the floor,
Right.
but they didn't let anybody else in on the
Right.
plan that Melina and Natasha had this whole thing planned out in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant because it tricked you, and then later on, there's the big reveal that Natasha and the mom were
Like
working
swap
together and swap,
spaces, you know.
use that face
Natasha
swap.
did that face thing that she always does, where she just has this little button and she could be whoever she wants.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because they've reused that tech, the Marvel tech, a few times now.
I think the last movie that I remember it in, I think it was Winter Soldier.
Yes, also in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, Carter.
Did she?
Yeah, she used it at one point.
I don't remember that.
She did that. So it's been kind of like this tech that the assassins, the super soldiers,
I
etc.
mean, that
like
is
to use.
very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Very like needed, necessary. There's another word I'm thinking of, but I can't. It's not coming to my brain.
Fair enough.
No English today.
That's okay. It is late. We're doing a late night review here because the movie was 2.5 hours almost long. I thought it was 3 hours for some reason.
No, it was just like 2:15. But yeah, so once like they get their plan together, the whole reason Natasha left was because she killed Dreykov's daughter, just for it to turn out that nope, that's who's been trying to kill you since the beginning of this movie.
Right, the Taskmaster. That was a bit of a surprise to me.
I think
I'm
once
not that familiar with the Taskmaster and all that, but I was not expecting it to be a female, and I thought it was a dude.
I think at one point when like Elena and Natasha first got together, she's like, "Oh, like you killed Dreykov," and then was like, "No, it was his daughter." And then I think I might be making this up. I could have sworn like, "Did you make sure?" Like she said, like, "Did you make sure?" Because
Right.
she might have known, but I feel like if she knew, she would have told her. But
Right,
she
right.
did tell her like about the Taskmaster.
Yeah.
But like once we get there and like he was ready to like reveal the helmet, in my head I was like, I think it's her. She
Oh, so
didn't
you
die.
sniffed that out.
It was
I
one of
didn't.
those like man behind the mask, but I have a feeling of who's behind this mask because who else would it have been?
I got you.
Just some random widow. It wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, I mean the character looked good, and I thought the fighting sequences and whatnot were pretty like well done.
But she was literally like they plugged like a USB into the back of her neck, and she just has like everybody's fighting style in the back of her
Right.
head. Because
Just a mirror.
at one point you saw her, she was watching, I think, Hawkeye, like fighting.
Right.
'Cause she,
Right.
to
That there was
mim-
there was
this
a
way she could
scene.
learn how to fight against everybody and win.
Right. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed
She's
that.
literally a robot.
Yeah. I felt like maybe she was slightly underused.
A little bit.
But I did feel like in general throughout the whole movie, the pace of like fighting, action, slow down, speak, flesh out the characters.
Story.
Then it picks up again. I felt like there was maybe 6 or 7 rotations of that, and the
It
movie
worked.
flowed pretty smoothly throughout.
Like it wasn't just like all action all the
Yeah.
time. Now all of a sudden it's really quiet. Like it
It flowed very,
for what
very
the
good.
story was, it's assassins trying to be assassinated. It worked the way it needed to.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much, not enough. I think it was well balanced.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think of the main villain? I guess you could say of the story. What was
feel
his
like
name again?
Dreykov.
Dreykov. Yes.
I feel like for what the story was, we didn't get a lot of him.
Right.
Apparently he's the head of like all these Black Widows. I would have liked to see a little bit more of their like training to how they are the way they are, even though the opening credits did give like a good amount of it. It was a lot more than I expected. But the way that he had it, so literally none of his widows are able to kill him,
Yeah.
I think was the craziest thing. And I remember watching, I was like, wait, she's not mind controlled anymore. Like, how is this happen? Like, why can't she just like shoot him just to find out like, oh, nope, I trained you. My pheromones set you off and
Right.
you can't kill me. Just for her to be like, huh, psych, I'm going to smash my own nose in.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I thought that was very creepy. Also, the fact that like the pheromones.
Yeah.
The whole thing was very creepy. Like the guy abducts young girls.
Abducts children.
Basically operates on them, mind controls them,
Trains
all
them.
this weird stuff around like women, and the fact that like the pheromones were programmed like that was very fitting because the whole thing is very just like
Creepy.
creepy in general. My criticism of him as the main villain of the story is I felt like, well, why just pure evil, greed, wants to control the world.
I mean,
I felt like we didn't get enough of like
we didn't
a
get a lot of his backstory because we
reason
only
why.
saw, if I'm remembering correctly, like the very beginning when
Right.
he first takes them. Like
Right, but
literally,
we didn't
Red
get.
Guardian's like, "Here's my children. Have a great
Yeah.
day." So we don't know really what made him start this, but again, Natasha's been training since before she
Hmm.
was kidnapped, which I thought was the craziest part. I was like, hold on. I thought it was like in this moment,
Right.
but she almost shot these guards after, her parents get taken away.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is like an advanced child.
Yeah, she was good at what she did. I just felt like him as the main villain was not as fleshed out as some of the other villains Marvel has produced before, like Killmonger. You knew
But I
you
think
knew you had Thanos. The
I think it's
reason, the backstory behind them was well fleshed out, and I want to compare him to Killmonger because
it's a
that was a
villain
one
specifically
specific
for that
the movie, and Killmonger, boy, they completely perfectly fleshed out his reasoning, everything about him within one movie, and that was sort of lacking in this story. I felt like.
I think the difference with Killmonger is that set up the entire movie, whereas this kind of had more like subsections to it.
Yeah.
Like it was more so going into Natasha's backstory than his backstory. The only reason Killmonger had more like a part of it is because
He was,
like
yeah,
T'Challa needed to fight him. Like
he was more critical to the
to
story
the
arc.
storyline,
Maybe.
because if you didn't know who this guy was, you'd be like, okay, this is just some random man claiming
Right.
whatever. You need to know why he's claiming this. Why is he so angry with me? It's not that this man was like angry with Natasha. Natasha's angry with him
Right.
because, ruined her childhood and her entire life. So it's like we got enough, and his goal really is just to make a army of assassin women that he can control to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't get his hands dirty, other people are doing it for him, and he could sacrifice whoever he wants. Oh, you broke your leg. Sorry, you can die now. You're no use to me.
Definitely, definitely. I just felt like it was a slightly weak in terms of the villain. Even the way he went out, dying by like being incinerated.
He
by
just
them.
got
It was
exploded.
not. It was impersonal. Like neither of them got like the direct revenge on him.
It wasn't direct revenge, but it was enough for them.
Yeah.
Because in the end, now they can stop any
Right.
future Black Widows that are being trained somewhere else.
Right. So I guess that's where they would go from here, right? It's
Yeah,
just not
because
that we're getting more of the
Natasha
story.
gave Yelena the little hard drive
Yeah.
that had all the like kidnapped children, all the kidnapped
Yeah.
girls.
Creepy. Before, like
It was
I
a
said.
lot of them. Like, so she now can go out and stop them. Make more. She gave her the last little vial they had of that like gas or whatever
Right, to make more.
unmind control them.
Yeah. I thought it was tied all together pretty well with like a bow on top at the end too, with Thunderbolt Ross coming again to try and capture her, and her going back on the run, and her getting like the Quinjet and all that stuff. I thought it fit nicely into a period of the Marvel timeline story.
Like you were able to see exactly when this started and when this movie ended
It
and
all
where
made
it was going to
sense.
pick up, because you start with her red hair running from Ross because Civil War ends with her short
Right.
blonde hair
Yes.
right where she
Yes,
what she looks
literally,
like in
they
Infinity War.
even they paid that close attention to like
They
her
were
look.
like, just so
Yeah.
you know, this takes place here because
Right.
we decided to wait too long.
To-
We need you
to
to
release
know.
it.
Maybe that's why they kept changing her hair color.
Maybe. So I did think they tied it all together very well.
Yeah.
And then let's get to the end, which was the after credit scene, I guess you could say, which probably was
Yeah.
like the most interesting part of the whole.
I can't lie, it made me a little emotional.
I didn't think we were gonna like I thought me and you were gonna come into this review and it was gonna be just like a review of the movie. There's not gonna be anything to theorize about. There's not gonna be anything to speculate on
Like, you
because
just thought it was gonna
this was
end.
an old
Like-
piece, like timeline piece.
You
But
just
now
need to
there is.
you just need to put something in
They-
here because
right.
she deserves, now that she's dead, she deserves her own movie.
Right, but that's not just
That's
it
not how it
now.
ended.
because if you know, spoiler warning, if you stayed to the end of the
like you're
credits,
supposed to.
like you're supposed to, if you didn't, stop watching this now and go on YouTube and watch it.
Somewhere on
Yeah.
TikTok. That's how I found it.
Okay, that's it. Now we're gonna get into it. If you watch to the end, Yelena goes to a grave and finds it's Natasha's grave, and she's approached by what's her name?
Valentina.
Valentina from the Falcon and the Winter
Winter
Soldier show, and we learned that she's employing Yelena.
She's not even employing. Yelena already works for her because she was like, "I want to raise." Like she
Right,
already
that's what I'm
knows
saying.
her.
She's employing her as like an assassin or part of the
Yeah,
team.
she's an assassin for herself, which is kind of how Natasha started. Like she was kind of like
Yes.
the bodyguard for Tony,
Right. So
and Tony was the only one that didn't realize she was who she was.
yeah,
Nick
that's
Fury
true.
hired her.
So now we have two members of like a sort of Dark Avengers team already
Now we
set
got
up.
U.S. agent slash.
Right. We got John Walker now. Yelena. Is there going to be a clash maybe in the future of the new Avengers team and the Dark Avengers
The
team?
craziest part of it all is Valentina telling Yelena that it's Clint's fault
Right. So
for
there's
Natasha to be dead.
right. He's thrown in there too. So I wonder if his show
Is going to be her.
is gonna this story will intersect somewhat with his show. Like maybe Yelena will show up there.
Could be.
have-
And he doesn't know who she is. I don't think he knows
Right.
who she
I'm
is.
not sure.
Because,
We don't know if they had that conversation.
well, I doubt they ever had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Because, she left. She was like, here, take this. I'm going to go. And at no point would they have had a chance
Mm-hmm.
to see each other. Because right after this, Infinity War starts. And that's a whole battle in and of itself.
Right.
And Yelena was off trying to save all the other widows.
Yeah.
So there was no point for her to actually explain
Right.
who anybody else is.
But maybe her and Clinton were very close, so maybe they did have a conversation about it. So maybe when she shows up, he'll have some understanding. We'll see.
Maybe, but
We'll see.
the only reason I can't see Yelena ever knowing what their relationship is like, they didn't speak for 21 years.
Mm.
And no time within this movie was she able to explain, like, oh, that's why those arrows were in the wall
Right.
when they were into Budapest.
Right, I guess
We got
that
a little idea of Budapest, but not enough.
We might maybe see in the Hawkeye stuff. I think Hawkeye show is going to definitely tie more into this. Maybe we'll see some flashbacks and things that will fill
I
in.
want to
some
know what
more.
happened in Budapest.
Yeah, we'll see. So I think it's pretty cool. I'm interested to see because there's a lot going on right now.
But
in the
they are
MCU
saying
with-
that Yelena is basically going to take over the Black Widow mantle.
Right. I'm just saying in general, like, there's so much going on right now in the MCU. We just did Loki. There's the whole multiverse stuff. But at the same time, it seems like the new Avengers team is assembling and the Dark Avengers team is also assembling. Is maybe one of the future Avengers movies going to be the two teams going up against each other, aside from all the other crazy, like, magical stuff that's going on? Because, when we look back, you had like Thanos. That was the overarching story of the first like the Infinity
First,
Saga.
like, 3 phases.
But there was other Avengers movies that had other, Ultron was kind of like a one-off villain in a way.
Yeah.
So could these Dark Avengers be one of the Avengers villains in one of the new Avengers movies coming up? Maybe that'd be pretty cool.
Possible. I mean, we had a lot of movies coming up that we already know about. Spider-Man's the next one to come
Right.
out this year.
Talking like way down the road, like we
Yeah,
have to
we
have
still
to
got a while until
establish
we get
even
to
more
'em.
members of the the bad
Well, they
team.
gotta remake the Avengers at this point.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it's interesting. It's interesting how things are coming together going forward.
And like, there's so much because now, like we know, Deadpool's coming in too.
Right, yeah.
So
We watched. We also before this we watched him and Korg. It wasn't as funny as I thought it would be, but it's pretty cool.
It was cute.
Yeah,
It just kind of gives you a little nod that it's happening.
yeah. The captain made it seem
Deadpool's
like it was
coming
way
in.
more funny than it
Yeah.
was. So shout out to the captain. Thanks for showing up again.
Like, Deadpool's coming in somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where they're gonna fit him in at this point. Because I mean, I always see like those little memes of Deadpool and
Yeah.
Spider-Man together.
We'll see.
Who knows? Maybe he'll make
Yeah.
like Multiverse is broken. Maybe he'll show up in
Maybe.
Spider-Man.
All right. So before we go off on a tangent here and all the other stuff we want to talk about, Black Widow. What do we want? What do you want to rate it?
I'll give it 9.5.
Okay.
I'm really not mad about it. I just wish it came out when it was supposed to. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't decide to make it until after the fact, but I wish it took actually came out to
A year
make
ago.
sense within the timeline. Not even the year ago. 2016. It should have came out directly after. So they should have decided this when Civil War was already done. It should have been put in there.
Okay.
And then make that 2 weeks later an end credit scene for the future.
Fair enough. I'm going to give it actually a 9.7. I was very surprised at how good it was. Like I said, I was not expecting anything, and
Yeah.
it blew my expectations away. I thought it was a completely perfect like bookend to Natasha's story when we were missing so much of it, and it was like very ambitious to take a character who had no solo movies and give you all of her
Stick it somewhere in the middle.
backstory. Right, like it was out of place in the timeline. We had so much of her backstory to fill in, the closure to her like story arc, and they pulled it off perfectly, in my opinion.
Is Red Guardian coming back in anything?
I don't know. I hope so. David Harbour did an amazing job. So
Because like they're out there somewhere, so maybe they'll show up on Hawkeye too. Because they'll probably try to stop Yelena from killing Clint.
maybe.
Who knows?
Look, there's also one last theorizing point. I asked you while we were watching the movie. I'm like, where's Steve while this is going on? Isn't he in Wakanda?
Oh,
And we
yeah.
were both unsure. There's a chance, man, that he could come back for a piece like this. That's the missing time, and maybe him and the Red Guardian butt heads or something,
Like,
or during
I
it.
don't
Who
know
knows?
why.
It'd be a
Why-
great
During this whole
mashup.
movie, like the part within that like 2 weeks later, and she gets the Quinjet from Mason, I think his name is. I was like, for some reason, I was expecting like Chris Evans to just like
To come
appear.
out,
I don't
yeah.
know why, but this whole movie, I was like, Captain America is gonna show up at some point because he's the only one we don't know where he
Right.
was.
Maybe.
Bucky was in Wakanda.
Yeah.
She was doing all of this. Clint and Falcon are locked up in jail because those
Right.
two actually got arrested, but Cap's just missing.
Right, he's on the lam. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not though, because I don't know if they're going to want to step on Anthony Mackie now being Captain America.
Oh, of course.
But it would be
I don't
cool
think
as like
they're
a
ever gonna
like a-
actually let us know, but it would be nice to know.
just
where
like
he
a
was.
like a piece just like this. Look, this is a history piece from.
But that would have
something we
been a
missed
good
back then.
extra like end scene
Yeah.
because sometimes they'll do 2. That would have been a good one just to kind of see where he was at this time
Yeah,
because
it would.
in Civil War, after Bruce, or sorry, Infinity War, after Bruce finally calls them, Natasha and him are together.
Already, right?
He went. I mean, she said, "I'm gonna go break some people out of jail." Cap wasn't arrested, so where did she pick
Right,
him up from?
I
Because they all
assume-
came together.
I assume right.
They ended up in
meet
what was
up.
it, Sweden?
Right,
Or-
they met. They met up.
Wanda
They
and
meet up
Vision were-
after this. She gets Cap, and they go along the way.
I mean,
but
she
we'll see.
she didn't have no, she didn't have any issues with him. He had
Right.
the issue was Tony being stubborn as shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was cool this though because it kind of
I liked it.
capped
Gave
off
you that
Civil
little
War's story in a
fill-in.
way. Yeah. So all right, that's our Doom review, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out all our other ones. We reviewed all of Loki's new season on Disney Plus, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our video if you like our reviews. Take it easy.
Bye.